started, or not try, we're going to know we'll have others that will be coming back in. And we're going to have, they'll have George, you and Dave, you'll have 20, 25 minutes, and we're going to give Bryn White a little time at the end. Tell us. Have Kendall come up and share a few things about the fish fry, and then we'll have George and Dave.
As y'all know, this coming Friday is our fish fry. We had these sign-up sheets last week, and I don't think they made it all the way around, so I'm going to start some in the front, some in the back. I'll just give you this mention for fish fry. If you look at 5:30s, we need them later on. Come early and stay later, but when we need the help most is at the end, especially in the cleanup. Just a few things relative to that. A fish fry will be from 5 to 7. We request that we not do carryouts. We're going to do our shut-ins. We got 2 deacons or 3 that's going to handle those for shut-ins, but we would prefer that we do not ask for carryouts until the end if we've got any food. But that's been an issue in the past. If you remember last year at our fish fry, before fish fry, I stood here and we dedicated the fish fry to the honor of our elders. This year, in light of 9/11 and especially after Bill's prayer, we would like to dedicate this fish fry to those first responders, and regardless of what capacity. We'd like to dedicate our fish fry to them this year and be thinking about that. So remember, church, it's not just a fish fry. God is going to send us people here Friday, and we need to start Friday building a relationship in order that we might some way reach them with a saving message of Christ. So think along those lines. It's not about hot grease and fish, although that's a big part of it. What we're doing is trying to reach out in this community and start relationships that we can take the message of Christ. So be thinking about that, be looking for people, and be asking people to come, that they can see a side of us that they might not see otherwise, and hopefully that's a good one. So George, I'm going to let you guys take off.
Good morning, class. I'm going to say class that way. Say good morning. Well, it's a great opportunity to get to share this part with you as well. That's what. Let's see here. Are we on? We got to play here. We still going to advance from here? No. Yes. No. Okay. We'll check it out here. Devices. iMac. Okay. Do we have a manual? Click maybe. Are we loaded up or it hasn't loaded up? Hadn't loaded up? Bear with me one moment. Well, you've heard a lot about our meeting, but we wanted to give you an update of our travels a little bit, briefly on that, but really what's going on with the school and so forth. And I would love to play this. And sorry for the issue. We were transferring that. We are on a. Okay. George, why don't you come on up real quick? I'll be right back down. We got to get.
electronics. High tech, if it works, it's good. If it didn't work, then to Benin. And we just graduated 11 more men in July, bringing a total of 177 men who have come through our school since 1995 when we began this work. We've been traveling around this country showing pictures of what we've been doing. And we wanted to show you some of those pictures. I hope they can get it to work so that we'll show you those pictures. We are doing our work on Matthew chapter 28. When Jesus time. But this we talk about French-speaking Africa. When Bill Morgan think of the country of Benin, 7 million people. But through God's grace, through something that we have not planned, we are not talking of all of French-speaking Africa. About 240 million people who speak French in Africa who need the gospel. I was sharing a joke with the people. We've been one of the churches in Nashville, and I told them, if you speak 3 languages, they call you trilingual. If you speak 2, they call you bilingual. If you speak 1, they call you American. Okay. And okay, because of the language barrier, no, there are millions of people in Africa who do not have the opportunity to hear the gospel. It's not because Americans do not want to go, but because of the language barrier. We have Brent White here who lived in France, and he's not American because he speaks English and French. That language barrier is there. Not only the language barrier, the tribal languages are also a barrier. In Benin, they speak 72 tribal dialects. 72 tribal dialects. And the only way we can cut through these barriers is the French language. In our school, I was teaching 1 Corinthians in our school. When we go to chapter 12, and we are talking about the gift of speaking in tongues. And the dialects that people speak, we have 18 people in class, and I asked them, how many dialects do you speak? This one said 3. We listed the dialect that 19 of us speak in that class. We are speaking about 24 dialects among ourselves. It's a Babel, We still do not understand ourselves, but the French language is the only vehicle that we use to cut across all these barriers. Our graduates, our graduates are doing it because they don't have those barriers. When we train one person who speaks 5, 6, or 7 dialects, when he looks at your face, he knows to use in speaking to you. We are very effective because we do it better than American missionaries who speak only one language. This year, from January till we are counting 117 congregations in the country of Benin. 117 different congregations in Benin alone. This is a result of BTC, our Bible Training School. We are the church in Togo, where we have another good number of graduates. They are counting 70 congregations. one of the congregations installed elders and deacons 2 years ago. I went there to work with them, and we installed 4 men as deacons and 6 men, 4 men as elders and 6 men as elders. That tells you that we are experiencing in our churches. I don't go this time with cameras to take baptism of people, because all I see, they come baptize 15, we baptize 5. It's tremendous. A few years ago, that was part of the school bus with Marshall County. Ed and Kit drove that bus from here to Maryland. It was put on a ship, and it came to Benin. That bus is what we now call our gospel chariot. We took out all the seats. We put in 50 chairs. We put in a PA system. We put in a generator and a preaching equipment. When we have 2 men who work full-time with that bus, they just drive it into the villages. Africa is still the dark continent because of when it's dark, it's dark. When it's 7 o'clock, it's totally dark. When we go to the village and we turn on the bulbs, the whole place becomes clear, and then they just flock in to hear the gospel. We project religious films and video, and we never leave a place without baptizing people. If you have any more abandoned school buses, send it to Benin. We can turn it into golden vehicles. It's very, very effective. There is one village where the Pearland Church of Christ has a preacher that they support. We went to that village, we baptized 12 people. And right now, as I speak, tool that the Lord has blessed us with. We are now in 10 other French-speaking nations. Our graduates from Benin Bible Training School are now in 10 different French-speaking countries working and preaching the gospel. I hope we can now show you some pictures.
I believe so.
Okay. Okay. We will now turn on to technology.
Well, our meeting opened yesterday in D.C. You said something that struck me. I immediately wrote down, and we're seeing it here. D.C. opens our meeting yesterday and says, I want to remind everybody in this room, we're at war with Satan, and we're taking the gospel. And so he throws stuff out. Many photos, but just to show a representation of our trip so far and what we're involved in is giving some reports out, sharing this with new partners, and planting seeds, and we're seeing some fruits come together. You can see just some example of some of the presentation, the in-house. Did we advance? Let's go back real quick. Go back. No, backwards. Okay, we're just. Thank you. We've been meeting in connections, and I did want to point out that bottom middle photo, going to Africa, and it was quite exciting. There's a lot of different foods and that kind of thing, so I had my chance to get revenge on George, and I took him to a little sushi place in Atlanta. So he hung in there pretty well, though, so we had to do that. Okay. Advance, please. Thank you. like I said, from our, very well, from our update, from our FACE meeting, and Kendall, I believe, covered most of that as well. Did we recognize the folks that were here? Bryn and DC, you all have been. So just a picture of our board there that was there. Next slide, please. And I think we mentioned our new board members. So we had a packet, orientation binder and packet for all of the board, and especially being a new board member, I did mention I can get up to speed on this work, we'd be in good shape, and so he did, and it was well. One thing I would like to add to what was mentioned already was through that change and that growth, I'm proud to say I was given an opportunity to now serve as the executive director for FACE, and to try to not only just from a title perspective, but in a role to offer leadership to help maintain and build this work on the U.S. side. So I just want to forward and to those to entrusted me with that opportunity, and certainly to Ed for carving a path for this organization, and for your fingerprints that are far, wide, and deep from here to Benin. Okay, one other item I think is going to be pretty exciting to mention. Now, hold on just a moment before you advance that. So there's a lot of things that are coming out, and prayerful for resources for opportunities. The Lord has blessed this work, many faithful partners, most importantly what they're doing there. A conference with all the churches in Benin in December, and one of the key issues to come up was what is the number one challenge to the work and to the growth of the church there in Benin. 110 congregations exist now in Benin, and of those, 60 do not have a place to worship. So we are in homes. I say we, those congregations are in homes or in various places under trees. You'll see some of that. So it's been a prayerful item. And, this is where, to our point today, to our lesson, faith and prayer. Faith. We don't go to those and we rely on our and computers and our pencil pads. We'll come up with a plan that is this, right, George? Mm-hmm. We have plans, and we look at those now. Yep. Did you look back? And it's a good exercise, isn't it? To look back what you brought and what we wrote 3 days before, and compare that to where we are today and what we're about to share. Mm-hmm. That's what, if you put faith and prayer in action, and if people step out in action of that faith, I'm humbled to be able to just share this with you, and you're going to see, you're the first to hear. So with that number one issue, to identify the greatest needs, and some resources have recently become available, and Bill Morgan is stewarding those resources. He wants to be clear, and I don't think any of us here need to be sold. To be a godly steward of resources and to serve as an example and challenge all of us. It is not about him or that family. It is about stewarding godly resources. Most importantly as well, it's to properly honor Irene Morgan, her legacy, her spirit of giving, her spirit of supporting these young Christians. As the case with George, there were some very special things there with Irene. So with that all being said, and we could advance the slide now, please. We'd proud to announce the Irene project with the churches in Benin. So 110, 60 don't have a place to worship, and some are partially built. And how does that happen? It happens because there's a matching fund now opportunity to build, construct churches, to finish construction on churches. Face is not the church. We are not the church there. And we are not going over there and getting in the way and building the churches we want. The way this program works is simply the churches in Benin are making that first step. They're making that first investment through their giving, through their labor, through their materials, through their existing. And this is a blessing to complete that. And so what the opportunity is matching funds. Gave $5 towards building churches. There's another $5 from the Irene Morgan legacy. If you gave $500, there's another $500. If you want to give $5,000, there's another $5,000. And on average, that is what it takes to build a church for a congregation there. So there's $150,000 that's been put on the table that represents basically half the amount needed to provide for every congregation in the country of Benin. And so we have an opportunity to share that message with everyone who will listen, with everyone who has an interest in seeing that grow there, and with, beyond that, everyone who knows, loves, and has been touched by Irene Morgan. So we're proud to share that with you. If that's something you're interested in, I think we'd be interested in hearing from you. But most importantly, too, if you can share that. So be some materials very soon that are easy to share electronically, that are easy to hand out. What a blessing. So I'm proud to share that. George, if you'd like to say something in regards to this.
Yep. I came to this country not as, but I'm going home challenged and excited. Our churches worship under shade trees. And when it's raining, there are no services. We meet in people's homes. And if the landlord is not a Christian, he prevents us from using their home for our religious activities. And we challenge ourselves in Benin to raise some money. At least it was a step of faith based on the lesson that I preached to you this morning. That the mountains in our right ahead, right in front of us, is that we think we are cursed to worship in people's homes or under trees or in barbering shops or in tailoring shops. People are ashamed of the places that they go to worship their God. And we said that's a mountain that can be removed. All we need to do is keep preaching, obeying the Lord's commandment, and God will provide. So we said we are going to raise $1,000 on our own. It's a big challenge. To services and some churches, all they give is one of the churches some years ago. People started walking away, and he was disappointed. They were now going home to bring some money to give to the lost table. They don't go with widow's mite, but we want to challenge ourselves. We said it's possible to do it. And here we came, and so I'm ready to go home today. There are people that we, of this 300,000, we want to give 10%. That's our challenge to ourselves. That's our challenge to Bill and to you. We are going to give 10% of what Bill Morgan family will be providing to us. That you can use in blessing the work in Benin.
Thank you. Can we go ahead and advance? So I just want to, this is a good point. This is a key message that this is the key message to those out there, and it never hurts to remind all of us and inspire us too. This is not Benin anymore with a missionary. In 1992 it was, and this eldership faithfully made that decision. The area is French Africa, 16 countries the size of the United States, and graduates are now in 11. The significance, it's the most underserved area. And beyond that, as far as missionaries supported in the Brotherhood, how many Churches of Christ in the U.S., the number of missionaries in the areas that they are in, Africa is the #1 continent. A study just completed at Harding University said there's 200 Christ in the United States. That's wonderful, right? And it means Africa is in good shape, twice as many as the others. Of those 246 missionaries, 245 or 4 of them are in the English-speaking countries.
Because they're Americans.
Which is fine. Let me put it into context. There's 250 million souls in 16 countries that are underserved, that have not got the gospel, that the Lord's church didn't exist in 20 years ago, who are now being, if we can advance, who are now being, one more please. Who are now being preached to and hearing the gospel. And those churches being established through the Bible Training Center. So this is their only, and we don't want an exclusive on this program anymore. But the reality is, as far as the Lord's church in this area of the world, this is the program. Faith it started in this church. And I don't share it that way when I'm out to others. I mean, I do. They know the story. But they're involved as well. But this family here, think about that and the significance of what you've done and your prayers and your involvement and this eldership and everyone here. I can't think of no bigger encourager than what is taking place. And it's just getting started. So let's continue that. Let's continue that momentum. And when you think of those decisions and that faith, to see it growing. Can we?
Let's talk about it. In the picture that you see here, we have Dale and Susan Brown Radio Ministries. We preach on the FM radio stations every week. See some of our graduates with headphones, they were preaching on the radio. This is a fantastic tool that we use. And I'm just glad that this picture came up whilst we have DSB in our midst. They provide some tools, motorcycles, because when the calls come from the radio listeners, you are here and it's
Can advance. Yes, let's go ahead and advance. Countries we're in and the graduates. Let's take it all, just click, 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 click. Come on, keep going. So this is the 110. We have 327 congregations now. That's when the school opened, and so to see that continued growth. But you know, with that growth, blessing that now we're going to be able to refoundation that. Can you continue through, please? Continue through. Continue through our students. Okay, let's continue through. Again. There's that would be a gospel meeting, basically, taking place in the country of Chad. Continue, please. Speaking of Chad, so as we see this, you recognize that gentleman here with the Paralyn Church, and that is a partnership they were involved with. Let's continue through. One more, please. Okay, let's pause right there, and we're closing our lesson. This was a report we received from the country of Chad, our graduate Daniel. How would you actually pronounce his name, though?
Daniel Jonga.
Jonga.
Jonga, okay.
So I met Daniel. He was there at graduation, traveled back to give a report and to what's going on. They have 2,670 some odd Bible correspondence that's taken place, him and several of the graduates. They had 80 some odd responses to door knockings. This baptism here, they didn't have water. And so how are they going to do that? So an example, they dug a hole and had faith that enough water would collect in that hole and that they could get in there early enough in the morning before the sun dried it up to baptize some new believers. That's faith and that's dedication. And that's an example. Luke 12:48, to paraphrase, to whom much is given, much is expected. And I'm talking about what we, and it's this school, it's this resource, it's these Christians, and it's men who are going into areas like Chad, which is Libya, Nigeria, Sudan. Those are your neighbors. They are the front of Islam and in the change going on in Africa. We're fortunate to have a Major General, Paul Johnson, who serves on our board, who was here yesterday and who's advancing his leadership now that he's retired from the Pentagon. I won't go into his resume, but it's significant. And he said, in his humble opinion, the progress made on the ground and with bullets has not been the progress. It's only going to be done through sharing the gospel and the love of Jesus Christ to change those people. And he said the only way that's getting done right now is through these men. Amen. One other thing with you too. We can advance one more. All right. Okay. The church buildings is what the preachers, that's helping equip those preachers and those churches. But sometimes we get caught up in PowerPoints and we get caught up in looking at things big because we have to. But sometimes you got to get down there at the granular level, and that comes from when we make trips there. That comes from George being the mentor on the ground he is, and it comes from these reports. And it's something that you're almost embarrassed. You just got to say it like it is. These men are out there, without Bibles. Some of them. Our graduates, are getting their study Bibles. But the bullets they have is the Word of God. And they don't have enough. So while some of them don't have buildings, they also don't have pews and they don't have pew Bibles. And that man who got in that mud hole does not have a Bible right now, I'd almost promise you. And there's reasons why. In that area, you're not going to go buy one. And if you do, it's going to be 150 miles away, and it's probably going to represent 2 months' salary for that man, if you can find it. If you and I went over there on a trip and we lost ours or left it behind or we felt compelled to give that to someone, we would be without until we came back home. So part of that is the logistics. Part of it is a lot of things. So we're going to change that because it's not that hard to do, and it's not going to take much. And so we are working on the logistics of sourcing those, but we can get some right now. We can get some right now in Cotonou. But we are working, and Bryn White, I would like to just recognize you with what he does in the French-speaking world, Operation French World. We're going to work with a publisher and have a larger scale plan to get 10,000 of these Bibles put in the hands ASAP. And I would hope that as a country, that it would not take us a year to get 10,000 books. It's not going to take much at all, and that is something that an individual can get involved with. But we just want to equip the Lord's army, amen, and provide them what they need. So we've got a lot in the cooker right now, and we just want to share that with you and know what the place this church has in this work and the opportunities that all the people sitting in this church might have to plug into this work as well. George, I'm going to let you conclude with any comments or prayer you'd like to offer. Thank you.
Well, we just want to say thank you. You know, in Africa, we have a saying that when the cock crows, we are telling you thank you. But you don't have the cocks here crowing. But there's something I see you do a lot of times. When you go to table, you put that pepper bottle, you shake it, you put that salt shaker, you shake it. That's my people in Africa saying thank you. God bless you.